All right, I'd like to call the Topsham Planning Board to order, please. Could you please take the roll?
I will. Don Span,
Present,
Carrie Bigford,
she's excused.
Ronald Bisson,
Present.
Larry Brand,
Present.
Dan Flagg,
Present.
Scott Libby,
He's in between Boston and here. He'll be here later.
and Andrew Munsey.
Excused.
Thank you.
Okay, just so everyone knows what we're going to do on item 1, which is the Highland Green. I need to recuse myself, so we're gonna put that later in the agenda when Scott gets here, right? So that we'll still have for a quorum to have that sketch. So before we go to the first items, approval of the minutes for the March 9th, 2023 meeting.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, so the first item then will be what's on the agenda as item number 2 is sketch plan, commercial properties has submitted a sketch plan for a proposed mixed-use retail and residential development at 99 Main Street, tax map U05, lot 45. And Chris, you're doing that?
Yes. Up there.
You should be able to. No.
This is. Main Street.
Okay, so we are on Zoom. Do we have any attendees or anything?
You do not.
Okay. All right. When you're ready, Chris.
My name is Chris Belanger. I'm a civil engineer and work for Dan Catlin in commercial properties. We're here to talk about 99 Main Street, which is across the street from Town Hall. A couple project facts. We're redeveloping the commercial site. Used to be the Wright Pierce building. We have a survey plan that I'll show you. A couple slides down. Total parcel area is about 4.17 acres. We're going to create a planned commercial development. There'll be 4 buildings we're proposing. The first building is a 15,000 square feet commercial on the main floor with 48 residential units on 3 floors above it. And behind the site, we have 3 60 by 75 foot 20 unit buildings that we're hoping to get approved someday. We've been working with the landscape architect to develop a concept plan. Parking provided is you have 162 apartment spaces at 1.5 spaces per unit. And we provided 68 parking spaces for the new building. We're in the village center zone. Total residential units we're proposing is 180. In this zone, we have a max setback requirement, which prohibits back buildings at this time. We're hoping we're gonna change the code to allow the back building. Here's some pictures of the site.
So can we stay with that last bullet or do you want to finish going through?
Sorry.
Can we stay with that last bullet and just talk for a second? Or
Sure.
do you, I don't want to interrupt. Do you rather go through it and then come back?
Well,
to
I
that?
want you to see the plan and
Okay.
then I can
All right, well,
bring you back.
go ahead.
These are photos of the site, Main Street. We're at the second entrance on the Wright Pierce land, looking down towards the Amsock River. The slide on the right is looking towards Route 196. This is the Monument Place intersection. You got the crosswalk, you got the main intersection. I'm standing roughly in the driveway. This is the adjacent property, the post office site. You can see the building, the paved area. These are pictures of the site itself. It's an existing commercial site. It had a commercial building with parking, and we're hoping to redevelop it. More pictures, pretty, so this is the second entrance. The slide on the left is looking towards the river, slide on the right is looking towards Route 196. Crosswalk where the bike path is. Our bike path is located on adjacent to our property. This is the existing conditions plan as it existed when the building was there. You can see the two entrances, you can see the existing building pavement and grading. We had landscape architect prepare a conceptual plan for us. This is what you see, it's in the package that we gave you. Basically, we have the main building fronting on Main Street. I'm hoping to have a 25-foot setback or maybe even a 20-foot setback when we're done. The three back buildings, as we talked about, doesn't meet the max setback requirement. So we're hoping for some relief for that someday in the future. For now, we're gonna focus on the main building, get that approved, and hopefully the three back buildings with the future days. Some staff had some comments with regards to this plan. I'll go over it briefly. They wanted to realign the project entrance with line place extension, if we could. They prefer parallel spaces versus angular spaces along Main Street. They want to realign Main Street to reduce to a single lane of traffic with bike paths. There's a plan that shows that, and we're happy to work with the town to try to make that happen. We're going to reduce the curb cuts if practical. We'll interconnect the properties if feasible. We'll try to install our utilities on Main Street as soon as possible, so Dennis can repave as needed to, as he suggested. We still have to issue the max setbacks. As I said before, we're gonna approve the first building with retail on the main floor and residential on the top 3 floors. Other phases will follow as the change in code occurs. As a result of staff comments, we went back, revised the plan. You haven't seen this yet. This wasn't in your package. So we revised the layout. We still have the main building along Main Street. We still have the 3 back buildings. We did close down one of the entrances, and we aligned one of the entrances with Monument Place. This is a larger view of that. I want to point out on this particular plan, we have the parallel parking along Main Street we're proposing. We're working with the traffic engineers to try to solidify what we need to do. The Main Street thoroughfare right now, the striping that you see is what's out, the pavement bricks that are out there right now. This is the intersection plan. Note that we added a spur onto the post office property so they can connect that driveway potentially in the future, but although not required. We aligned our center line of the road to match with Monument Place, that bold line that you see. And we've located the existing conditions along the corridor, the islands, the lanes, and what you see on this plan is really what's existing today. They want to reduce some of that pavement or reduce some of those lanes. Instead of 2 lanes of traffic, they want to reduce it to 1. This is just the intersection without the aerial. These plans are basically what the town has provided us with regard to the lane shifts and lane changes that they want. They want 2 single 11-foot travel lanes. They want the shoulder 3 feet on each side, plus or minus. Then they're adding a bike path component 5 foot wide. So they're eliminating basically 1 travel lane on each side. I know you can't see me, but we'll select it if we have it. That's basically it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well. So I don't have to ask about the angle parking because it looks like you went to the parallel. And,
That was recommended by staff.
right, I saw the staff comments on that. They talked about a refuge island as well. It's
Yeah.
part of one of those that we couldn't
We're
see.
working with Erico and Diane Morbido. We'll try to coordinate what we want to do and add it to the plan.
All right, so I'll come back to the original question I guess I had. And I don't profess to have all the answers, but you guys are the experts on this stuff. Is it possible, or is there a way to create kind of a private way in that gives a different address to those buildings in the back? So that the back buildings could have a different address, therefore they're not on Main Street, they're not fronting Main Street, they're fronting a private way.
Well, we could set it up with the right of way along that access point. It's all on Dan's land right now. He can deed
And
off.
I'm
the
not
right of way.
trying to change your project, I'm just asking,
I hear you.
because the other way, as you said, requires a code change, which means we need to go through the whole process, all the workshops, public hearings, and then get it approved by the town.
This is why we're at a sketch. I'm looking
Yeah.
for any ideas.
But anyway,
possible.
that was my thought.
The only thing I'm thinking is if Dan gives away that right of way, I don't want it to hurt my density.
No, I get that, right? But if it's considered part of a right of way, maybe it doesn't take away from the density. But again, you guys are the expert on that. I'm not.
Somebody else made that comment last night too, so we'll look into it.
Okay, that might be a way. Think if you have a different address or a different road that they front, right?
Maybe
I'm just
I
wondering
can
if
get
that
back
couldn't
to it
work.
To work, yeah. Right, yeah.
Anyway, that was my thought. Dan, any questions or comments?
Chris, where do you stand with the current density in the large building in the front?
We did get a good clarification from codes. The main mixed use building with retail on the ground floor and residential above it doesn't count towards density.
Okay,
Part of the mixed use building, which has different rules.
okay,
The three back buildings, 20, and 20 is 60 units.
yeah,
We have density on our site for about 74.
okay,
So we are within the density limits.
Good.
okay, and the 4 stories, building height's not a concern with this mixed or village zone?
I need to double check with the parking underneath the main buildings, with the buildings in the back, to allow that 5th story. Just want to make sure we're correct, but I think that's right. We add additional 15 feet of under building parking or something like that.
Larry, do you have any?
Just one clarification. So you're talking about a 5-story building?
On the buildings in the back, yes.
Oh,
Potentially. The building in the front will be 4 stories.
would it be 4 stories?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we were only talking about the front building, and then we start getting the other one.
But just to clarify, I guess for me,
Yeah,
it's still within the max height requirement that
That's right.
was passed to support the Highland Green project.
We get an allowance because of the under building part.
All right,
15
so
feet, something like that.
that's what I thought.
okay.
Anything wrong?
Yeah. Now, you said you're gonna cut Main Street down to one lane both ways. What about the left-hand turn
We'll still
Main
have a
Street?
left-hand turn.
on the monument?
Yeah, we'll
That'll
still have a
be there.
left-hand turn. We'll expand it to include more stacking. And we'll move the islands toward the intersection to try to clean it all up.
Okay.
That's part of your plan or part of the?
It'll be a part of the combined plan. I
Combined.
don't know who's doing what financially, but.
But regardless, you're gonna have a traffic plan that has to get the MDOT permits and that kind of stuff.
But yes, Diane Morbido's working on that for us and Tom Erico's there to help us. And so together, hopefully we can figure it out.
And the town is part of those meetings as well, so. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Julie, is there anything we missed that we should talk about?
I don't think so. I think you pretty much touched on everything there.
All right, you guys have any questions for us?
Not at this time.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to give this back? Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, my scribble notes. All right, there you go. Okay, so item number 3, site plan amendment. Topsham Meadows Solar Station LLC, Glenvale Solar, has submitted an application for an amended site plan of a utility scale solar energy conversion system at 68 Branch Road, tax map R02, lot 63, 72, and 93. And, okay. We have 2 votes. I'll ask. There you go. I have 2 of these. So we're doing this one right here. Okay, good. Number 2. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, just waiting for you to finish making notes. James Lowry, Bussin O'Neill, had Tyler Holmquist with Glendale Solar here on behalf of the applicant. Hopefully it'll be a pretty straightforward discussion tonight. We were back in front of you guys in December for an extension of the originally approved Topsham Meadows Solar Station out off of Old Lisbon Road. That, if you recall, we sort of broached the topic with you that night to give you a little bit of advance notice that we would be back in front of you here in the spring, which we are, to amend the overall site plan to take advantage of the new ordinance provision that eliminated the internal property line setbacks associated with the internal lot lines of the site. If you remember, this project is made up of 3 separate parcels: Cornerstone Baptist Church, the Andersons, and the LaPointes. With that, it had 2 internal property lines that we were required to hold building setbacks from. So this is the original plan. We highlighted, per Julie's suggestion and comments, we highlighted the areas that had significant change to them, the 2 areas here. This property line, through the course of doing the Alta boundary survey of the LaPointe parcel, ended up having to shift easterly, roughly 55 to 60 feet. So with that, it adjusted the array layout over in that area. So just wanted to, bring that to your attention. So this is the proposed plan, as the arrays through the, essentially across the property lines, which will be all encompassed in the total development area, whether total lease area of the site.
So can I put it in my words?
Certainly.
And because I do recall, and actually it was your presentation, and when you got approved is the reason we ended up doing workshops and going to town meeting and getting it approved. So basically, if I understand the change, it is to incorporate the new zoning, which allows for you to do setbacks on the aggregate versus on each individual parcel.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so, and that's really,
That's
that's it. in a
in a
nutshell.
nutshell.
Right,
Yep.
okay.
I mean, one small change that I failed to point out to you, the substation dimension has changed a little bit. It's actually reduced in size. So I
That's
realized tonight that I didn't articulate that in my letter to you guys and wanted to make sure I brought it up.
okay. All right. So, did you have anything else? Otherwise, I was gonna.
I do not need to have anything more. That you
Okay.
guys don't need any more from me.
So just to the board, I think we all understand this, all right? My suggestion, and I don't want to cut off any questions. If you have them, please feel free, but if you don't, it looks like we need to do 2 votes. One, basically to say the site plan application materials are complete, and then do the vote for the amendment, right? I don't believe this is not requiring a public hearing.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess if you have questions.
I guess my only question with the change in not having to comply with the internal lot line setbacks, how much additional solar panel area does that?
You know, I don't know,
With
this-
layout,
this right in here, this adjustment took away about 2 acres of clearing.
okay,
So you probably would end up, you know, and roughly that's the same dimension here. So I don't know exactly that number, but I would say, you know, if we reduce 2 acres here, you're probably, you know, there's not gonna be any change in the clearing of things, because it would have all been cleared, but you're probably in that 2 to 4 acres of additional panel space that would be added back into the plant. I can get that value.
yeah, no, I was just curious, you know, how much additional, you know, energy production, you
Right,
know, with
that
with the
change.
change in the.
Yep.
In the internal.
No, unfortunately, I don't have that number right on the top of it yet.
Anything else there?
No, that's it.
Either you guys?
No, I actually, Dan kind of hit the same question I had, but it was still the same megawatt.
Yes,
Same ballpark.
in the general scheme of things, the total generation from the project's gonna be, you know, it actually, you know, it will be higher because you've got those panels over the property lines, but it's not gonna be substantially higher.
Okay. Ron, anything or? Oh, okay, all right, so I guess I'll entertain suggested motion number 1.
I move that the planning board concurs with the staff's conclusion that the site plan amendment application materials have been submitted and the application is complete, such that the board may proceed with substantive review of the application and identification of any further information required from the applicant.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, and then could we get the second motion, please?
I move that the site plan amendment application for Topsham Meadow Solar Station located on Branch Road, tax map R02, lot 63, 72, and 93 meets the applicable standards in the site plan review ordinance, chapter 175, and the zoning ordinance, chapter 225, including these specific standards for solar energy conversion systems, and is approved with the staff recommended conditions and findings identified in the staff memo dated April 13, 2023.
Okay, and that was the 1 through, or looks like 1 through 9.
Yeah, those are conditions 1 through 9.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So you have it, it's right here, Mr. Memo. Okay,
And referencing the sheets that are in that memo.
okay, great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
There you go. Okay, we're gonna move into our first public hearing. Park Drive Lot 12 LLC has submitted a final subdivision / site plan application for 4 20-unit apartment buildings at 100 Park Drive, tax map R05, lot 21D, 18, and 19. And Chris, you're doing that one. Thank you.
Yes.
Did I miss something? Oh,
Subdivision.
wait a minute, Chris.
It's good like Chris Gill.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm gonna get my computer wound up anyways.
I'm gonna be here all night. You can go.
How did I did
You can go.
number 2, I did number 3, and I was just doing Park Drive.
I was after him.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Is there a different agenda?
No, I guess I must have waited for you to come over. One with the head, it's different doors.
Or is,
It's
where's Jerry?
It's here for. It's the second one. I apologize.
So Chris,
Yes, sir.
I can't always say it, but I was right. Right?
Oh, brother.
Don't, you can tell my wife that, okay?
We can tell you're not at home, Don.
What's that?
Yeah.
You can tell you're not at home.
Yeah, that's exactly. All right, so, but you are next. All right, Jeff, anyway, go ahead, Chris.
My name is Chris Belanger, representing Dan Catlin and commercial properties for the proposed project off of Park Drive, called Park Drive Residences. So that's, we're gonna redevelop the Goodwill and the adjacent pad site on Park Drive. Original plan is in this packet I'll show you. Tax map R5, lot 21D-18 and 21D-19. Total area of the parcel about 5.1 acres. We're proposing to create a planned commercial development. We're proposing to replace the 25,000 square foot building that was approved with 4 new apartment buildings, 60 by 75, 4-story, 20 unit buildings are proposed each building, 80 units total. Been working with Mitchell Razor, landscape architect, to develop the plans and landscaping. He's here if you have any questions. Parking provided, we have 120 apartment spaces at 1.5 spaces per unit, 62 Goodwill parking spaces, supporting the 14,000 square foot building. 182 parking spaces is proposed. These are existing photos you've seen before. This is the existing site that it currently exists. There's no building, but all the pavement, drainage, ponds, and infrastructure was put in. More photos of the parking lot. This is the existing original building, the 25,000 square foot footprint approved in 2005-ish. This is proposed development. You have seen this plan. Since the last time you've seen it, it hasn't changed all that much. The buildings are in the same general area. The parking and circulation is the same. I did get some comments today from the peer review on the parking layout. We want to perhaps add or extend the island next to the Park Drive entrance, just to avoid apartment people using the front side entrance will force them to the back and recirculate around. That was his only comment. Tom Saucier did also give us comments today. They're relatively minor, but there are quite a few items that we'll go through, and so we'll review them and submit a new package to you next week.
Okay.
This is the aerial photo, shows the existing building, the existing parking and entrance, and the 4 buildings overlaid, just so you can see it. This is phase 1, what I'm calling phase 1. Essentially, everything on the right of the screen, we want to build the first apartment, a building first, that's what's in blue. We'll also build the parking lot to the right. We'll rebuild the entrance off of Merriman, sorry. We'll have to do some drainage and sewer work next to the building. We will install a new 8-inch sewer line from Park Drive into the site through the first manhole to at least serve the first building, but it'll eventually serve up to 4. So when the second building is built, we'll have to extend water to that building from Park Drive. So we'll probably show it based on the original plan. So we'll have to come up that existing driveway when that occurs, when the second building is built. Ideally, we want to keep everything to the left side, the Goodwill building, the existing parking, the entrance, all the same, all intact until we build the future buildings. And we'll have a connection between the existing parking lot and the new parking lot between them, so everything can interconnect for fire safety. In your packages, we provided floor plans of the building. These are elevation views of them as well. I'm happy to answer questions to the best that I can. And these are some renderings of what it's going to look like. This is a view along Park Drive, and you'll see the apartment buildings to the left. This is the backyard views, sort of looking downhill onto the 4 buildings. Park Drive is in the back of the site. That's on the Merriman side of the parking lot. And that's in the back again. This is a view of the existing bank as it exists today. The landscaping plan will supplement or infill those holes so we can try to buffer it as best we can. And we'll try to maintain that slope as best we can too. But obviously there'll have to be some shaving required because we did extend beyond the current pavement by about 10 feet, I believe. So we'll have to do some shaving. This is the updated landscaping plan. The staff had provided a memo. They wanted some changes made. Mitchell did make the changes. We resubmitted them to staff. He can outline what has changed if you'd like. But I can go back. This is the section that Mitchell did to give you an idea of what you saw. You've seen all this before. Last but not least, we want to talk about waivers. You have seen the waiver 175-12C. We provided that before, provided our need for the waiver. Also, there's an existing parking lot that's there. We'd like to keep in the parking where it is, where the drainage is. It seems to make the most sense. We have worked with staff to try to consolidate those 4 buildings. So it kind of forces the parking to be on that Merriman side. And we shoved all the buildings towards Park Drive and made that the focal point. So hopefully you agree that a waiver is warranted here. Last but not least, we had a comment with regards to open space and natural resources. 91, section 191C, 191-18C requires an open space to be set aside. I'm kind of suggesting this is a commercial development project and we're redeveloping it into residential units. If he built the commercial building, he wouldn't be subject to this fee. But that being said, it's still a requirement, and we're hoping that the board will give us some flexibility with regards to the amount of the fee and when the fee is paid. Hoping that the fee can be paid prior to a building permit for each building. And I understand there was a memo that staff had written. It was a very good memo, and I can't argue with it. So we'll go with her recommendations if it's okay with the board. Hopefully I said that right.
You did fine.
This is the letter we submitted as a result of the waiver request. I'm happy to answer questions, but I think I've said enough.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So I guess a few things, and then let's talk about how we want to do this, right? 'Cause I think we probably should talk before I open up the public hearing. But then, if I understand right, we're all on the same page that this is going to be tabled.
Yeah, if you're willing, I'd love to get a preliminary approval from you, but we understand it's gonna be tabled till the next day.
Well, yes and no, I think we have to have the full public hearing before we vote on the waivers and everything else, so I'm not sure. We could maybe do
We're
a preliminary,
flexible.
but there's
If we
half a
can
dozen
get it.
votes in here, right? So.
If we could get it on the next meeting, we're happy.
Right.
Thanks, Julie.
Right. But so I'll just say, we have, and he's already mentioned it, but we're gonna end up tabling tonight as long as this board votes to table. I need to open up the public hearing because it was published. This is a public hearing, right? The plan would be for these guys to come back in 2 weeks on the 27th to do final, right? And with the table public hearing, we can open it back up. Any more comments when we vote? And then the other, granted, there's technical issues that you're dealing with, but the other issue is the discussion on in lieu, and I think everyone did see Julie's email, or I hope you did, where she laid out the logic on what he thought would be both fair and reasonable to both the town and to the applicant. So I guess we can ask some questions if you'd like. We should then open up the public hearing. We probably need to at least have a discussion about where you guys are at on the in lieu and her memo, right? And then we'll vote the table, right? Unless anyone here wants to do it a different way. And does that work for you? Right, I guess. I don't know, what does voting on a preliminary do for you?
I would just say, if you were inclined, if we can get preliminary and final at one meeting, I'm happy to. So,
Yeah, I think we do preliminary and final after we are able to close the public hearing. I think, to me, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd say do the public hearing and we go from there.
right, but do you have any questions before we open it up? And do we want to talk about the in lieu fee before we open up for a public hearing? Just whatever you guys would like to do, or if you have questions for him.
I guess we can do it after the public hearing. Yeah, it's just gonna be a formality, right?
Okay. I still want to have that discussion before we table the public hearing.
Yes, correct.
So open this up to the public for any comments, questions, and concerns in regards to Park Drive, Lot 12 LLC, which is here for final subdivision / site plan. An application for 4 20-unit apartment buildings at 100 Park Drive, tax map R05, lot 21D, 18 and 19. And do we have anybody from the public? All right. So I'm in this room. Is anyone in the public here that would like to, or anyone that would like to make any comments, questions, or express any concerns? All right. I'm assuming it's back to the board. Let's have maybe a couple discussions and then we can table this.
Yeah, you want to close the public hearing
No,
or are we going to table?
I want to table it while we're in public hearing.
Okay,
So it's the continuation,
okay, sounds good to me.
right? Because otherwise I think we'd have to
Then repost. Yeah.
repost it and they
Yeah.
can't come back in 2 weeks because our deadline for repost is 2 weeks ahead,
Yes,
right? So,
okay, got it.
all right, so I guess I'll start then. In particular, in regards to the waivers, right? I think you presented a good case the last time we met on this, and I'm good with I guess the parking waivers is what we would call that one. And then the
Agreed.
other is, I like the way Julie laid out the logic for the in lieu fee. She gave us some examples of what it would be in other communities as well as what it is here. What I'd argue is that's probably something that we need to discuss in a workshop to actually come up with something that fits into our code that kind of clarifies it a little bit better. Maybe in line with the way her logic is this time, but maybe it'll be a little different, right? But right now, we don't really cover it well in the code for this circumstance. So I guess comments from either one of you about that? The memo.
Yeah, I don't have any problem, unofficially, I guess.
Okay.
With
That's
the,
fine.
with the waiver for the general parking, the 175/12C.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I do have concerns about the, in lieu of fee, just because of the precedent setting aspect of it with regard to what we do here affects or could affect future projects. So I'm looking for, a very considered discussion of that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, and I agree with you because I made the comment about my worry about precedent setting as well.
Yeah.
Right, so,
Because the,
Dan,
along that, just to dovetail on Larry's comment, because the ordinance language give us the latitude to negotiate or.
well, my understanding is it gives us the latitude to waive it altogether.
Right, so that was my question. Is the decision to waive it altogether,
Well,
all or nothing, or?
that was their initial request, okay?
Yeah.
But to the extent that it allows us to waive it altogether, I think it allows us to come up with a logical solution to this particular case.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we gotta be careful that it's not considered precedent setting, right, to your point. But something that allows us to move forward, and it gives us sort of a basis for maybe what we end up doing as far as the change to the zoning.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if there's an opportunity here to improve, you know, the ordinance language in this area,
Right.
I think that would be the overarching goal here. Is to come up with something that may work for this, but also work for several other projects that may come down the Port Pike.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah. And I think personally, the way she sort of organized it, but she also, if you look at the other couple pages, she gave some nice backup.
Yeah.
And so there was a rationale behind her logic, right? So maybe I should let you talk about it. But there is a rationale there, right? And I think, again, it seems to work. I think it's something we can use conceivably going forward. But I think we need to specifically say this is kind of a one-time, so it doesn't become the precedent.
The uniqueness of this property
Right,
is really where a lot of it comes in for me,
exactly.
as opposed to just, you know, like 20 acres off in some other district, and
Right.
and they say, no, you can just develop it without paying any fee.
Right, so it is unique, and so, but I also think we don't want it to be punitive, right? And I think that again, with the incremental payment, as well as coming up with a number that's probably a little bit more correct, doesn't come across as being punitive either to the applicant, so.
Right, no, I-
Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think all those factors make sense. Certainly, you know, we got a couple weeks to continue to review that, you know, plus we'll have hopefully the other board members too can chime in on that.
Okay, good. Any other comment? Do you have anything else while I still have the public hearing open and I haven't tabled?
I don't believe so, Dan.
Okay, all right, that being the case, I'll entertain a motion to table. And can we say table to a date certain of the next meeting? Okay,
And that is what date?
Whenever we get it ready.
April
27th.
27th?
I want to make sure it's
Well-
ready next week, but I want to, you know,
well, okay, would you just rather we just table it, not make it date certain?
no, I would rather table it to the 27th. It gives me a hard deadline. I'll meet it.
Okay, all right, so then the motion would be to table it to the 27th.
I'm sorry.
All right, do we have any discussion? Seeing none?
You made the motion.
No. Larry made the motion.
I
One second.
I move that we table the public hearing and this application to April 27, 2023.
Okay,
That's better, thank you.
and Ron seconded.
And Ron seconded.
I'm sorry.
2023. Yes,
You good?
yep, I'm good.
All right. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? All right, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you are up. Okay, this is Fairview Commons, the Housing Authority LLC 25 Hackmatack Road, U 23-075. It's a reapproval of final subdivision site plan for a 38-unit residential complex. So Kevin, you have the floor.
Okay, somebody needs to allow me to share.
Oh, I thought I upgraded you.
You might have, I'm not seeing it on here.
So she didn't want to promote you tonight?
Story of my life.
Straight up.
Can you give it all back? Yeah, 'cause I have so many notes. And she's got some emotions in it. I don't know how to keep track of it without that. Yeah, that particular. No, thank you.
Good evening. That's why. Is that better?
Kevin Clark from Sightlines, here representing the Topsham Housing Authority and Housing Associates of Topsham LP for the Fairview Commons reapproval. I think some of the board members will remember, we originally approved in February of 2021 and then reapproved in February of 2022. And that reapproval expired in August, and we have resubmitted. There's no significant changes to the site plans from there. We have worked out all of the remaining review comments with all associated. Just take care of the stormwater thing. We have one request regarding the architecture. Excuse me. We have a alternative roof line and elevations is due to the cost of the building. We'd like to put it forward to use that as an alternative if it becomes necessary to construct in that. The other elevation is. Yeah, so I can show you the difference between the two. So you can see there's some additional hips on the older design. So you can see there's a little bit more flare to that roof line. But the mass and scaling is the same pitch, it's just a little bit easier and less expensive to construct. That's good for it. We've also finalized an alpha survey and finalized the subdivision plan to show the lot that will be used for the development, as well as the 38 units. And those are shown on there with the existing drainage easements and then a proposed easement for the sewer district and Brunswick Topsham Water District. And I really don't have a lot else other than answering questions at this point. If you have something, if you weren't involved before, you have questions now, I'd be happy to do my best to answer them.
But essentially what you showed us are the changes. Otherwise, it's really
The same,
a movement of
same
the
project.
project, correct?
Although they made some changes to structures and outlets in the stormwater system to make the berm in, let me see if I can point this out. In this area here, there was construction of the berm that was supposed to be built to a certain elevation to support the stormwater. It wasn't constructed, but since we've determined that, our engineers have gone back and reworked some of the inverts and outlet sizes to make the existing elevation of the berm work correctly without having to go in there and disturb the area and regrade it. So they're sort of retrofitted the design to what was actually great.
Okay. All right. So on this one, I didn't really have questions to anyone.
Is the roof line something that we really need to be concerned about in our review? I didn't think so, okay.
All right, then I'm going to open up to the public. It's now open for public hearing. Any questions, comments, or concerns in regards to Fairview Commons project? And do we have anybody?
We do not.
Okay. Once again, any questions, comments, or concerns? All right, seeing none, public hearing is closed. All right, so we have two motions here. Larry did such a good job last time. Unless there's more questions for the applicant, you can go ahead and go with our witness.
I move that the planning board concurs with the staff's conclusion. The final site plan and final subdivision application materials have been submitted and the applications are complete, such as the board may proceed with substantive review of the applications and identification of any further information required from the applicant.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second,
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, thank you. And Scott, thank you. It was a long trip to get here.
It was.
The second motion, please.
I move that the final site plan review application and final subdivision review application for Fairview Commons, tax map U23, lot 75, meet the applicable standards in the site plan review ordinance, chapter 175, and the zoning ordinance, chapter 225, and the development is reapproved with the staff recommended conditions and findings identified in the staff memo dated April 13, 2023.
With a
Can I
second?
interrupt?
Sure.
I just noticed that the subdivision chapter is not referenced in the motion. So I might just want to add chapter 191.
Can you add chapter 191 to your motion?
I amend my motion to add chapter 191.
Okay, thank you.
second,
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, all right, it's unanimous. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much. Where did I receive that? Chapter 171.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Scott,
That's for.
I thought Dan leaving, so those two are gone.
thank you. Do you have, we can either do Highland Green, solar, which I need to recuse, or we can do the rest of the public hearings, but I think since we had to move them from the front to the whatever, I'm fine with, as long as you're fine with taking this one.
I'm fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna be recusing myself and Scott will take the lead on this one.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
I didn't see you behind there, I thought he left.
I move that we recognize Scott Libby for having a great trip back.
Well, you realize Scott drove 2+ hours straight to get here.
I appreciate it.
3.5.
Oh, well, then I lied. 3.5 hours.
Boston
I
traffic is
appreciate
just never good at that time of day.
No,
I don't think it's ever good.
no, that was a bad time to be coming out of the city.
All right, so the next item on the docket is the proposed construction of 1,264 panel solar array at the corner of Village Drive and Route 196 in the MUL. And Chris,
Hello,
have at it.
my name is Chris Belanger, representing Highland Green, proposing a solar array at the intersection of Village Drive and 196. The Vision Energy we're working with, it's about 1,264 panels, 733 kilowatts, what we're done. It's located on lot C5 at the intersection of the Coastal Connector and Village Drive. Village Drive is a public road. Proposed use. We're proposing to use the current curb cut if allowed. Had several discussions with staff. Site distance recommends the entrance be 250 feet away, but there's a minimum site distance allowance if we provide 175 feet for the driveway entrance permit criteria. Dennis has looked at it. He's not in favor. I think that's what I understand. But we're hoping to plead our case with you and let the just follow the may, I guess. Access primary used during construction to build the array. Once we build the array and construction is complete, there'll be almost zero traffic using the entrance. Once a month, they'll come in with a truck and maintain the panels. But beyond that, there should be no traffic at this entrance at all. So we're hoping that they'll allow us to keep the current entrance, and I probably should move ahead. Here's the existing parcel. It's long and narrow. it was created when the bypass was created. We kind of bisected that property. It was contiguous with the other Highlands area. But when the bypass came through, they took the land and that piece was left over. So basically between the highway and the CFP power line, we have this long strip of land. This is our proposed array. This is what we submitted to you. Basically, we're hoping to use the existing entrance as we suggested. The reason why we're proposing it, it's on the high side of the site. It's the easiest point to get access to the property. And there's a big island along Village Drive that would impede us if we tried to shift it down. We did update the plan. I did get some survey information in. And we did get some staff comments. We're hoping to try to address staff comments as much as we possibly can. We went through several staff reviews on this particular site. The front setback along Route 196 is required to be maintained as buffer. We're allowed to cut up to 20%. And Revision Energy, looking for the sun, will want to take advantage of that if we can. This is the original layout. This is the new layout. I was talking with Revision, and they do have some larger tractor trailer type trucks. So we expanded the entrance to accommodate that turnaround. And when that occurred, the topo that we had shows a pretty steep bank along Village Drive and shows some white fence and landscaping to beautify that entrance. We're hoping to keep everything above that entrance area. We want to keep everything on top of the bank, so to speak. So the entrance drive to the right, this area here will be about 24 feet wide. It'll be located on top of the bank. And then we hit the security fence for the array. And 15 feet beyond that would be panels. So the panels are located plus or minus 40 feet away from the top of the bank. This is some pictures of that bank. Left side is the Route 196 coastal connector. Note that it's elevated above us, above the road of Village Drive, significantly. On the right-hand side, that's the right-hand bank along Village Drive. These are more pictures of Village Drive. On the left side, that's the bank that we were talking about, the tree line. Everything on that side, on the Village Drive side, we want to cut those trees. That's the best sun. That's what they're gonna take advantage of. So we've set those panels back from the top of bank. And we can add some low-lying arborvitae or vegetation to really shield that array for Village Drive. With that elevated terrace, you wouldn't see much at all, in our opinion. This is the entrance that we're talking about. There's an existing curb cut that's there now. It was built when we built Village Drive. We put in the picture to the right shows the island in Village Drive. So the entrance was located at the top of the island. It was also located at the top of the hill, so it'd be easier to get up to the plateau. But as we've talked about, the left side is the line of sight from the entrance to up the hill. And we've got about 175 feet plus or minus of sight lines there. We can cut the vegetation back if you see fit. We can slide the entrance down 5 or 10 feet if that makes us maintain or meet that criteria. We're willing to do any of those things. We can cut the slope back, reuse the vegetation, or add some signage for a blind driver. But I think the point we're trying to make is once the array is built, there's no traffic and nobody really can be using it. So we're hoping we can keep that. This is the CMP power line. As part of this project, CMP is gonna wanna see entrance for a couple vehicles. We're gonna install a pole right behind that pole to the right. And then they'll have a trench going from that pole into the array. The right-hand side is looking at that entrance location, but on the other side of the street, looking down. This is the CMP entrance, looking ahead, looking above, and looking below. These are pictures of the arrays that we've gotten from revision. Roughly, the panels are 12 to 14 feet tall in the end, and you can see how it's constructed. This is a picture of the fence and what the fence would look like. Lot 5, I think we talked about access, but I'll summarize. The parcel is located between the highway and the CMP power line. This type of use is perfect for this site, with the exception of that entrance. The entrance was located toward the top of the site to allow easier access. The site is elevated. And as you move down the hill, the grades get steeper. We drop about 7 to 8 feet along that route. The curb cut in the island was installed when Village Drive was constructed. I already mentioned that. A long and narrow parcel. Proposed use is ideal for this type of parcel. Access perimeter used during construction, and after completion, maintenance vehicles will only visit the site once a month. So little to no traffic at the entrance. Staff comments. Area within the setback along Route 196. We talked about the 20% clearing. Revision wants to maintain that. It would be nice if I didn't have to go locate every tree that's out there. So maybe we can have a condition that says we'll review whatever we clear within that setback with staff or whatever is appropriate. Staff is also concerned about Village Drive and the visibility on Village Drive. So we kind of slid everything back behind the Village Drive to give myself an opportunity to set the array back, to add some fencing, maybe some landscaping along that access, just to try to shield it from the street. And then the street is 10 to 15 feet lower than the street. Site distance we talked about, 250 feet is recommended, 175 minimum is required. We can maintain that. And we're hoping they'll allow it to occur. The array height, we talked about, the pictures. Fire chief said he would confirm his comment, but I haven't seen too many others. Access will not be located off Route 196, and the Highland Green residents have been notified. We talked to the chairs, and they're doing their thing. And I'll answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Chris. I apologize. I hear there was a note. Was there an email with some more information about the?
I forwarded an email from Dennis, from the Public Works Director today, regarding the site distance. And we actually did go out there for another site visit this morning and measured it and came up with about 174 feet. That could be modified with some, like Chris was saying, vegetation cutting and potentially moving the entrance.
I'm not sure how to talk to you. I have that printed out, the memo and the pictures from him, if you'd like to look. She's got it. I put it over there. I just wrote recused.
Well, I'll look at it after.
Okay.
Since we're really not making a final decision on it. It sounds, I mean, this seems like there's three main issues. One is the entrance in the curb cut, the buffer, both on Village Drive, and I have questions on the 196 side too. And they both revolve around visibility, which comes up a lot in the earlier memos. And it's something that we've been dealing with all the solar projects that have come before us, as far as everyone loves them, they don't want to see them. And I expect that's probably true with folks who are going up and down 196, and especially the ones coming out of Village Drive. One question, you talked about, and you showed some great sight lines from CMP, both directions. Has there been any discussion about accessing the site for the installation via the CMP corridor? Because you're gonna be doing work to put the line underground anyway there. Seems like it's an easy solution, and then maybe access once a month via the existing curb cut be something that is doable.
I was informed by the owner that it was an arm and a leg to get the easement from CMP for the first Village Drive. So he's reluctant to ask them for anything with regards to work on their land. So he prefers to keep the entrance to that lot off the CMP right away.
Seems like an easy solution, but okay.
I'm willing to look into it to see if it's an easy process. He feels it just could take years, and he doesn't want to wait that. I guess that's the point.
But there must be something that has to be done to have that underground line and a new pole.
Well, they're making us put in that spur at the top of the hill, at the top of the plan, and we're putting in a new pole. So, yes, so if we can get them to buy in to anything more than that, we're certainly willing to hear it.
Okay.
As long as it's an easy process, he doesn't want to take years, I guess.
Is there an easement associated with being able to put that underground line and pole in?
I'm sure there will be an easement required for the underground trench that they need to put in.
And that's going to be a permanent easement, whereas
Now,
the
we-
laydown would be a temporary easement for construction purposes.
Right, a trench is different than a road and a driveway, so like I said, we'll go down that road and explore that opportunity, but he wasn't very, he didn't think it would work.
All right, and as far as the buffer goes, obviously you stated the trees on top, behind that white fence on the bank are gone, because that's where the sun's coming from the east and southeast over there. I had seen a 20-foot buffer in the notes along the road, but you mentioned a 20%
Along the
clearing
highway.
around the highway.
Yeah, along Route 196,
Yep.
the code requires me to maintain setback as a buffer.
Mhm.
And in that code, it says we can thin out the buffer by 20%, but that's all.
And that you showed the views down 196. There are a number of quite large trees, I think, are within the buffer, but I haven't been up there to see if they're behind the buffer or within the buffer.
I will say that revision is gonna want to take taller vegetation because that's impacting their panels. So the 20% will probably be of the taller variety.
And I mean, it would be good when this comes back before us to know what is in the existing 20-foot buffer now and where that is, whether we end up doing a site walk to see it, especially if you want to try and not characterize which trees are larger than 3 inches.
Right. Say the surveyor or something.
Yeah. And that's all I had at the top of my head. Other folks that had questions?
Isn't there a motorcycle or four-wheeler trail, is that in the power lines itself, or?
Right where we're gonna put that second driveway curb cut, that's right where the four-wheelers come in and out. So they'll continue to do that, but there'll be a paved section and then they'll come onto that section and drive through, so.
Okay.
And I'll work with CMP on that driveway, but they haven't indicated they wanted anything more than what we've shown.
So, Chris, your driveway as it's shown now is in the CMP right away?
The driveway on our land is not,
Okay,
the CMP right away is above that.
okay. Just maybe a suggestion, kind of along the lines of what maybe Dennis might have been thinking. When you had was it the grounds crew building barn on the other side of the with an entrance there. Could there be a possibility of maybe using that and then doing a perpendicular crossing across the parking power line? Because I know CMP generally doesn't have an issue with perpendicular crossings versus having a parallel type of access point.
Like I said, I'm happy to look into it and see what we can do. I would probably, if they allowed me to have an entrance off of the CMP line, I'd want to use that secondary entrance right there and come right into the panel somehow. But
Yeah, I think it's just a potential opportunity, one for construction, but also for post-construction kind of, you know, that storage building is kind of infrequently used and to kind of hide the whole entrance to the solar panel area.
I'm certainly looking for ideas, and if I can convince the owner that this will be a simple process, that may be the way to go. But that's a hard sell right now.
Right. That's really all I have. Like, you know, where it's kind of a utility crossing for solar panel access. It seems along the lines of the types of things that CMP is generally agreeable to. But
I hope so. I mean, my fingers are crossed.
yes,
My question has been already addressed. So, if we're already.
At some point, we would like to, maybe an acknowledgement that I can keep the entrance, or I gotta shift it, or, you know, at some point, not today, but it would be nice to understand the direction I need to go.
I'm sure the town will provide more direction.
They certainly have.
And
I appreciate it.
And I think if you can get CMP to, I think at least I can't speak for everyone up here, would be more comfortable with having that as a access for the monthly trips. Right, and having the build out and all the trucks be in an area that has better sightlines.
and that has come up on a couple other projects, right? Right, it was the Hunter Solar Project, Lovers Lane.
Right, that we had them use with the four-side entrance
Yeah.
instead of the other entrance.
For construction.
Construction.
There might have been another
And
one
there's
too.
also on the one up to large farm off of 196. We were resuming.
We just had.
There we go, okay.
Yeah.
Missed them. That they couldn't go one way out of there.
Correct.
Yeah, for large trucks.
Yeah.
So I think that's consistent with what we've been trying to do.
We'll certainly eventually, we'll try to look through the CMP option, and we can also look at maybe sliding the entrance down to it. Maybe.
And not that they'll bite on this, but this is the perfect opportunity for CMP to allow an easement for a larger solar farm. You know, if you're already putting in the pole and the access to get there, but I know they don't do that, which is unfortunate.
All good points.
All right.
Thank you.
I think between that entrance and trying to get a better handle on the view shed from 196 buffer. I think you're right that the from Village Drive, given the height of the bank and then some, you know, shorter conifers or something up there. Is probably,
Clearly, the upper section
Yeah.
is the way to go if I can make it work
Yeah.
legally with whoever is appropriate.
yeah,
I think being there on site too is helpful
for sure.
with that topography.
All right.
Thank you very
Good.
much.
Good, thanks.
For the 174 feet, who's always the smart end of the table? Just checking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
See you later, Chris.
And thank you, Scott. Okay, so. We have the ordinances now, and I think we probably should take them one at a time since we need to vote on them each individually. And we should do a public hearing for each, right? So, the first one is an ordinance to amend the town code, chapter 225-27, off-street parking and loading to revise sidewalk requirement and remove the in lieu fee for sidewalk construction. I guess if there's any questions for Julie on that? Thanks, Stu.
Are on? Where's your all
Anyone have any questions for Julie? I think it's been consistent with what we said in the workshop.
Yeah.
But appropriate.
Yeah, no, I think it looks good. I'm glad we added the, in lieu.
Yeah.
For the waivers.
Right.
It's
That was,
an
that
improvement.
was a good catch, Andy. I agree. All right, so I'm gonna open up for public hearing. Still no one. We're open for any public comments, questions or concerns. And seeing no one here from the public, I guess I can close the public hearing.
Yep.
All right, so
We're talking about C.
we're talking about C. So on that one, I think everyone understands the different motions we have, but she has prepared a suggested motion. So I guess,
We're ready.
Scott, you want to take over or do you want him to keep going?
Larry.
All right, Larry,
Keep
go ahead.
going. I hereby move the planning board forward the sidewalk zoning amendment to section 225-27 D4 to the select board for addition to the town warrant with the recommendation of ought to pass.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? All right, it passes. And I'm gonna, the motions are in this memo?
Yeah, I thought I have it.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, so the next one, an ordinance to amend the town code, chapter 225-60.6, affordable housing developments to redefine affordable housing and increase bonus density. Again, I think, and Julie took care of this, she had it reviewed by the housing authority, got their input, and it was updated based on that input, so it's consistent with housing authority in regards to the definitions and so forth for affordable housing. So any questions or discussions on that one?
And that one was mainly driven by the state law requirements.
The LE 2003, right? Correct? Okay. All right. Again, open up for any public comment or questions, seeing no one from the public present and no one's online. Close the public hearing. So Larry, unless there's any further discussion. All right.
I hereby move the planning board forward the affordable housing development zoning amendments to sections 225-6, 225-60.6, section 225-27C1, and the table of dimensional requirements to the select board for addition to the town warrant with the recommendation ought to pass.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed. All right, very good, thank you. Next one is an ordinance to amend the town code, chapter 225-27.C-1, off-street vehicle parking space requirements to add affordable housing.
Sorry, that was part of the affordable housing.
Right, that's not the same one.
It would be the.
It's the next one down, I'm sorry. All right, an ordinance to amend the town code, chapter 225-54, renting rooms and apartments to define accessory dwelling unit and establish size requirements. And again, this was driven by LD 2003. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so any discussion from the board or questions there? All right. Hearing is now open. Again, there's no one present, no one online. So I'm going to close the public hearing. And back to the board.
I hereby move the planning board forward the accessory dwelling unit zoning amendments to sections 225-6, 225-54, and the table of dimensional requirements to the select board for addition to the town warrant with the recommendation to pass.
Second.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, all right, it's unanimous. Okay, so we have, is it one more? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, maybe. Did that capture that too?
Yeah, the 225.
Yes, the dimensional.
Dimensional requirements were captured with that, okay,
The prior motion.
all right, so we are good. Wow. So how about a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Oh, way too early. I told my wife, don't expect to see me for a long time.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed, all right, it's unanimous, we're adjourned.